Hello and welcome guys. I have created 3 decks that I'm really excited to try out when the new expansion will hit, and the first one is Hand Druid. The idea is pretty simple. If you remember the old hand lock, right now this is like the same thing, but we are playing all those cards in Druid in a little bit different form. So we want to create a really huge hand and then benefit from this. So for example, we've got Whispering Woods. So for every single card that we've got in hand, we can get 1/1 Wisp, then we can buff them with Power of the Wild. Also, like, there are a lot of cards that we can still include in this deck, like for example Savage Roar, to then kill our opponent with all those Wisps in like one turn. So there are so many ways to build this deck, but right now I want to go for giants and big board, and maybe later we'll just figure out something slightly better. Also, Bewitched Guardian will allow us to survive for more turns, because when we've got a lot of late game options and value, we just want to survive, and this card will allow us to go for it. Valid Teacher, I think this is really an interesting option, because when we've got a lot of cards in our hand and most of them are spells, then we can summon a huge board with Valid Teacher, buff all those little tokens with Power of the Wild. Plus also, when we'll have more minions on board, then we'll have a discount on Sea Giant, and when this huge giant will arrive on board, our opponent will have a really hard time dealing with this, and probably like 1 or 2 giants should be enough to just kill our opponent and win the game. And we've got Mountain Giant, because what is better than a discount on this huge guy when you can play him like on turn 4, a 4 mana 8/8. Of course, like, this is another core card that we want to include here. Plus also, I consider a lot of cards in this deck that can give me value after playing them, so then I can still like discover something. For example, from Stonehill Defender, I can get another card, and then I'm still not losing like this big hand and the discount or buffs on my other minions. So like, then those synergies works. And we'll move on to another deck. And Elemental Mage. But this is completely different build. We want to try out the new legendary, plus also a 2 mana card draw that will allow us to draw 3 cards, but will discard any spells draw. So here we are playing only 2 spells, so if we'll be a little bit unlucky, we can discard the second copy of this book, but otherwise we are getting a ton of value. And on top of this, we've got our Twilight Drake and Mountain Giant, so once again we'll have a ton of value by just having a really huge hand. We've got a ton of cards that will create other cards, so if you really like RNG Fiesta, this is deck for you. Maybe this will be enough competitive, or we'll change few cards and then we can hit the legend with this. Who knows? But right now, let's just have fun when the new expansion will hit. Also, when we've got a ton of cards, it will create other cards like Shimmering Tempest, but this card will be not from our hand, from our starting deck. The same thing applies to, for example, Pyrus. Then we can get a discount with Flail Manipulator. Also, we can utilize all those elemental synergies, and on top of this we'll have few big drops, which is Frostleaf Jaina, Blaze Caller, and Servant of Kalimos, which will give us even more cards. So if you want to really go for this kind of exhaust bottle of resources, here you can get a ton of value and a ton of fun. I think this will be a really interesting deck to try out when the new expansion will be live. The last one, I think a lot of people are excited about this one because it's Rush Warrior. This is something completely new, plus also in Cobbles and Catacombs, Warrior was a pretty bad class, and right now there is a chance that there will be a tier 1 deck, so I decided to go pretty aggressively with this one. We are playing 2 1-drops that will allow us to probably take control over the board from those early turns, and then Loot Hoarder and Woodcutter's Axe will allow us just to like get a really smooth follow-up for those next turns, and then we are just waiting for those rush minions. Also, there is a Spiteful Summoner, yeah, of course, for the reason because we are playing Spellstone and we want to get a really huge minion, plus also then a really nice swingy turn where we'll just create such a huge amount of value that our opponent won't be able to keep up with our speed of smashing their face. And on top of this, I really like Countess Ashmore, so I decided to just like include this one. Even if we're getting only 2 cards, there is no powerful lifesteal from this expansion that we really want to play in Warrior. But also Warrior is all about the armor up. just kidding. In this version, he is all about hitting our opponent's face. So this lady will allow us to get more cards and get even more steam to deal with our opponent. So when Kobold Scalebane and Baratite Hydra won't be enough to just smoke your face to death, not your opponent face to death, then you've got even more card draw and Leroy Jenkins as a finisher to just deal with your opponent's face. So thank you guys for watching. If you want to see more, just tune up for other decks, and see you guys.